Hi, I'm Dr. Wendy Labat, also known as the Financial Healer. And I love this quote by Robert Kiyosaki. It's not how much money you make, but how much money you keep, how hard it works for you, and how many generations you keep it for. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the 6 obstacles to winning the money game. And I'd like to share my story with you. I started my entrepreneurial journey over 36 years ago at a time when there was no internet, no social media, and the only thing you can do with a cell phone was make an expensive phone call. Now, I didn't have any business experience, and my funds were very limited. So, I jumped out there and I decided I wanted to service a corporate clientele. So, in order to do that, I had to have the brick and mortar, I had to have the employees, the inventory, and all the overhead that goes with it. Because if you wanted to go after the big contracts with corporate America, you had to project the right image, or else you would be seen as a mom and pop organization not capable of handling that type of business. So I kept, I got the facade going, kept it up, but then, my money wasn't quite matching my overhead. So because of the challenges I faced, I was forced to learn how to take control of my finances, make my money work for me, and find creative ways to increase my income and get my clients to really negotiate with them to get them to pay when my vendors wanted me to pay in 10 days, but my corporate clients wanted to pay in 30, 60, sometimes 90 days. So I learned negotiating techniques and everything I needed to get my business to grow and develop. And things worked out well. It was a hard lesson and various challenges, but in hindsight, it was 2020. And fast forward to 2014, when Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act, was enacted, and it mandated that all individuals have health insurance. And it required employers to provide it for their employees. So I expanded my business to include financial services and insurance. And because I didn't want to be a hypocrite, I bought all the coverage and plans that I was trying to sell to my clients. Because I had people say, well, what do you have? Where is where is your money? And, how are you protected? So thank God I practiced what I preached, because in 2017, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I had to undergo chemotherapy every 3 weeks for a year at a cost of $67,000 every 3 weeks for a year. Can you imagine having that kind of expense in addition to your business and personal expenses? Now, I also had 5 surgeries. I had the CAT scans, MRIs, mammograms, labs, x-rays, everything that you would have battling cancer. So those expenses added to over $300,000. And again, that was in addition to the $67,000 every 3 weeks for a year. And that could have ruined me financially. But because I practiced what I preached, my health insurance covered all those medical bills, all the chemotherapy treatments. And in addition to that, I had supplemental coverage that gave me a multi-6-figure shot in the arm that helped me focus on my recovery instead of worrying about money. So in other words, I found the financial cure for breast cancer. So that's what we're going to talk about. And I'm going to tell you from personal experience how those things worked for me. Now, the 6 obstacles to winning the money game, I'll list them here and then I'll go into more detail as we go through the presentation. The first one is mindset and lack of knowledge, control over your finances, proper protection, tax codes and laws, investment losses, market risk, and global economic impact, and taking action. Now, the first one, mindset and lack of knowledge, is probably the most important one. The Bible says in Romans 12:2, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. In Hosea 4:6, it says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And Wayne Dyer says, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Now ponder that for a minute. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Knowledge is the new rich, so arm yourself with it. And knowledge without practice is useless, but practice without knowledge is dangerous, and that's by Confucius. Okay, let's look at some basic principles. Okay, never underestimate the power of the basics. Just like 2 + 2 = 4, that's a basic principle. Just like your percentage or compound interest means more money. That's a basic. Discipline requires you to choose what you want more over what you want now. That is a basic. You have to be disciplined. You have to choose what you want more over what you want now. Plan where your money goes instead of wondering where it went. Spend less and keep more of what you make. These are basic principles. More money cannot fix bad spending habits. And money saved is money earned. Some more basic principles: always have multiple sources of income. You can either earn compound interest or pay it. Now, this is a principle that Warren Buffett lives by, and he's one of the richest men in the world. Use creative ways to dramatically increase your income. Make expense reduction and debt elimination a conscious choice. Acquire proper protection to prevent financial ruin, and I can testify to that. And a business is not your personal piggy bank. A lot of people make that mistake. Okay, the rule of 72 is showing you how quickly your money will compound as far as your return on your investment. This is, like I said, a rule that and a perspective that Warren Buffett lives by. Every decision he makes is based on long-term compound interest. Let's say someone has $10,000 at a 4% return on interest on investment. The rule of 72 says you take your return on investment interest rate, which in this case is 4%, divided by 72, and that gives you 18. And that means that every 18 years, your money will double. Now, let's say you did a 6% interest rate. If you divide that into 72, that's 12 years. So every 12 years, your money will double. If it's 8%, that's 9. So every 9 years, your money will double. And a return on investment of 10%, that's 7.2 years. So every 7.2 years, your money will double. So let's look at it. Okay, at 4%, at age 70, this person, they start out at age 34. At age 70, they have $40,000. Now, if they take that same money, that same $10,000, and put it in a vehicle that earns them 6%, at age 70, they have $80,000. And at 8%, age 70, they have $160,000. And then if they take that money and at 10%, they'll have $320,000 at age 70. Now, I don't know about you, but I think I want to be at $320,000 end of that. So you see how compound interest works. At just the rate of a 2% increase doubles the return on your money, doubles your money with just a 2% increase. Okay, now it works the same for debt, but in the opposite direction. Instead of you earning more money, you're going to pay more money. Let's say you had a credit card debt of $1,500 and you paid that off within 30 days. You won't pay any interest, and then the total amount paid is what you actually spent, which was $1,500. But let's say that you make a partial payment of $135. It'll take you 1 year to pay that off, You'll pay a total amount of interest of $125. So your total payment will be $1,625. Now, let's say you pay the minimum amount, which is $30 a month. It'll take you 11 years to pay off that $1,500, and you'll pay a total amount of interest of $1,413, which is almost how much you spent. So you're paying a total amount of $2,913. So you're paying almost twice as much as what you borrowed. So our next obstacle is control over your finances. Now, this is another key area. Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful and trustworthy over a little. Now I will put you in charge of many. That's what Matthew 25:21 says. And that's referring to the master who left the talents with the 10 talents with the 3 servants. Now, it's not how much money you make, but how much money you keep, how hard it works for you, and how many generations you keep it for. That was our opening quote from Robert Kiyosaki. Because not only do you want to make money, but you want to keep it, and you want to make it work for you, and you want to pass it on to future generations. Now, money is a big part of your life, and when you learn how to get your finances under control, all areas of your life will soar. And that's by T. Harv Eker. Okay, now we look at income. We have our traditional sources that most people consider, the wages, salary, they're listed here. But you've got some creative ways of making money. And a lot of people don't consider that, especially when they're doing their financial plan or their budget. Okay, you've got residual income. You've got online sales where you can, take things, gently used products in your house and sell them online. You've got referral and joint venture partnerships that you refer someone, you get paid. You have a partnership. If someone uses a service that you're a partner with, then they pay you and vice versa. But the key here is you getting paid. You've got cash back and loyalty programs that pay you significant money if you use them right. And then you've got your rewards, rebates, coupons. And then if you're a gambler, you got lottery and casino winnings. And those are things that when people get those kind of income sources, they don't always factor them in. Now you got your expense categories. Here's some listed here, and I have tithes and savings at the top because you always want to pay yourself. You always want to pay God first, pay yourself second, and then the other bills later. So these are some of the key essential expenses that you really can't get away from. But in order to reduce some of your expenses, you want to cancel some of the unused subscriptions and memberships. First of the year, everybody wants to get healthy. They sign up for these gym memberships. And in the day of COVID, the gyms were closed. But even if it was no COVID pandemic, people start out fine. January, February, they're going to the gym. By late February, March, and therefore, they don't go, they're paying money and they're not even using the service. So you need to cancel that and take that money and use it where it could be more efficiently spent. And the same with subscriptions. A lot of times you get apps you don't use, or you sign up for a trial period, but you forget to cancel it after that 30-day period or whatever the trial period is. And that's what the companies expect you to do, to sign up, you put your payment information in, and you're paying every month. And you don't realize it until either you check your statement or it's already been billed. So make sure you stay on top of that. Okay, reevaluate and renegotiate your service contracts. I just renegotiated my cable and my internet service because I wanted to get faster internet speed. So I called the company. I had the same service for a while. I called them up and said, look, I need to increase my internet speed. What kind of program do you have? What kind of plan can I keep my same, cable and other services, but get higher internet speed? So they ended up providing me with a service that not only increased my internet speed, but I got more cable channels, and my landlines are tied into that as well. And I got more than what I had before, and I'm paying $90 a month less. So, $90 a month, that I could do something with that. I could chip away at a utility bill or something else. And speaking of utility bills, you can call your electric companies, your gas company, and other utility companies and see what programs or specials they have to offer now, and see if you can get something better for less. And usually you can, because a lot of times you don't think about renegotiating or even reevaluating those services. And pay your bills on time, because there's nothing more than getting a late fee or overdraft fees, because that can have a ripple effect. If you don't have overdraft protection at your bank, make sure you either tie a credit card or a savings account to your checking account, because overdraft fees, I think they were about $35 from the bank, and then if something bounces with a particular vendor, they have their fees, and next thing you know, you're paying a couple $100 for a $50 bill. Excuse me. Avoid late fees and penalties, because again, we talked about that. Late fee can double your bill. We talked about how the compound interest is. You don't need to add late fees and penalties on top of that. And then consolidate or refinance loans if you can. If you have a high interest mortgage rate and your credit is pretty good, and even if it's not that great, rates are low now. So you may be able to get refinance your mortgage, consolidate some debt, and end up paying a significantly lower monthly payment. Then you want to, again, use the rewards, cashback, coupons, and trial offers. There are also buy one, get one free. You'll be surprised at the money that you can save with these techniques. Okay, you want to remember, distinguish your needs from your wants. What you think you need may end up just being a want. I did a workshop at my church, and it was a budgeting workshop. And I asked some people, okay, what do you think are some of the needs that you have? And people were saying rent and utilities and, gas, groceries. And then one lady shouted out, paper towels. And I'm a proponent of paper towels now, but paper towels are a want. You don't have to have. You can live without paper towels. Your needs are things you really can't do without, that you really can't live without. But your wants are things you may think you can't live without, but when you really look at it and when money gets tight, you can do without it. So make sure you distinguish those two. And then, like I say, you want to reduce your expenses and control your spending. As you can see, the expenses are like your budget. You want to cut that. You want to, reduce that as much as possible. Now, your spending is like the picture you see here with the faucet turning on and money's just flowing. Now, I have my clients do a spending challenge when we first get started. And what that challenge is that you take an envelope or a journal and you want to keep track of everything you spend, whether it's for a stick of gum. You want to get a receipt. If you don't get a receipt, you want to log it on a journal or an envelope. And if you get the envelope, you put all your receipts in there. If you don't get a receipt, log it on the outside of the envelope. And at the end of the day or the end of the week, tally up all the money you spent. See, for each item you spent, was it a need or a want? Was it something that you paid cash for or you use a credit card? And, is it something that was not necessarily an expense that you would have, like a utility bill or something like that? And tally it up. And I had one client, and it was so shocking, I can't forget the expression on his face. He said, Wendy, I spent $800 this month on eating out. And it wasn't business expenses or business lunches with clients. It was just him and his wife. And it wasn't that he couldn't afford to spend the $800, but it was just that he realized he could have done something better with that $800. He could have paid off a credit card or, paid some utilities or bought some groceries and ate for a month. But it was just, you'll be surprised at what you spend and you don't realize it, how much money you're not, I guess it is wasting, spending on non-essential items that you can do better with. And you want to eliminate debt. And that's a key, because, debt and expenses, there's a difference between the two, and a lot of people lump that together, but debt can be eliminated. Debt is like a credit card or a car loan, um, because once you pay that off, it's gone. But expenses are like your utility bills, because once you pay that, you pay it out in full, but the next month it rolls back around again. So understand the difference between an expense and a debt. So remember, you want to distinguish your needs from your wants, reduce your expenses, control your spending, and eliminate debt. Okay, proper protection. This one is close to my heart, and you all know my story. The greatest wealth is health. Health is like money. You never have a true idea of its value until you lose it. Risk is like fire. If controlled, it'll help you. If uncontrolled, it will destroy you. That was what Theodore Roosevelt said. And a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And we talked about that earlier with the initial quote from Robert Kiyosaki. Okay, you want to avoid the risk of financial disaster. And the first risk is your health. And in my situation, if I hadn't been properly protected, I would have been in a serious financial disaster, and it could have ruined me financially. But, with health insurance, there's a cost to have it and a cost to use it. And a lot of people don't consider that, but you have to know the difference. A lot of folks want to pay a low premium and have this high deductible, but until you reach that deductible, let's say it's $10,000, you're self-insuring yourself for $10,000. And everybody may not have $10,000, and people assume, I'm not going to get sick. But if you do get sick, you're going to pay those bills and be responsible for those bills up to $10,000. That's before your insurance kicks in. Now, say you want to have your insurance with a lower deductible, say about $2,500. The premium may be, $50, $100 more a month, but you got coverage that kicks in at $2,500 if that's your deductible. So like I said, understand the difference between the cost to have the insurance and the cost to use it, because the cost to use it can be significantly high if you don't understand, what you've got. Okay, there's life insurance with living benefit. And this is something a lot of people aren't aware of. They, say, okay, life insurance, to pay off my family, once I die, but having those living benefits will help pay you while you're still living. Pointer here. Life insurance can take care of your family when you die, but living benefits can help take care of you while you're living. You can access up to 90% of your death benefit with living benefits. And a lot of times, people don't understand that, once you have an illness, even if you have good health insurance, sometimes you got to, have to rearrange your life. You have to redo your house, make it handicap proof, depending on what it is. You may have to have a home health care nurse or something. And those are things that sometimes your health insurance may not pay. It depends, again, on what kind of coverage you signed up for. But, having the living benefits, and what I do with my clients, I get them a term with living benefits of a $500,000. So if they do get sick or have an injury and they need to draw the living benefits, if it's a $500,000 policy, they can draw up to $450,000 and still leave a $50,000 benefit in case they die. So that's the benefit of having living benefits. Okay, the next obstacle are tax codes and tax laws. Now, nothing is certain except death and taxes, according to Benjamin Franklin. And the hardest thing to understand in the world is income tax. And we just had some changes in our income tax laws. Now, their tax codes are like your 401k, IRA, 403b, and a lot of people don't look at those or understand that those are tax codes. And then your laws, are income tax, Social Security, probate tax, estate tax, IRS Form 706 in case you die. Those are tax laws. And like I said, we recently had a change in the laws that impact people, especially employees and especially the middle class. So you have to understand how those codes and laws impact you, and whoever does your taxes, you need to make sure that they know how these will impact you. They need to be able to give you a strategy going forward. And if you find somebody, or you go to someone and you say, again, there's a cost of paying somebody just to fill out your taxes, and there's a cost to having a professional that actually understands the law and the impact of what it have on your income. So if you sit down with someone because their prep fee is cheap and they just take your information and documents you hand them and they don't ask you any probing questions, you need to get up and leave, because a good tax preparer or a tax professional will ask probing questions to find out the real picture of what your situation is, and they'll develop a strategy where you'll get the maximum tax refund or the minimal tax liability. So that's key. You may save a couple $100 on the fee, but it may cost you $1,000 in your refund or your tax liability. Okay, here's an example of how those tax codes and tax laws impact your income. Let's look at how to minimize your retirement income taxation. Let's say we got two 35-year-olds and they're both contributing $400 a month for 30 years at 7.5% return on interest on investment. One buys a term policy with no living benefits. Now, we talked about how the living benefits work. And then if they get a tax qualified plan or a 401k, or 401k with their employer, and the employer matches $100 a month. So they're making a contribution of $500 a month. And then they're paying a 1% management fee. Now the other one buys the Index Universal Life Plan with living benefits, and I'll talk about the Universal Life Plan later on, but they're contributing just the $400 a month. Now let's look at here the first one with the qualified plan, and I guess I need to distinguish. The qualified plan is like the 401k. The non-qualified plan, or the qualified plan, is a 401k where you save on taxes with your seed. The money that you invest in that plan is tax-free. But on the IUL, or the Index Universal Life, those are post-tax, or that's a non-qualified plan where you pay taxes on the money that you've already paid taxes on the money you use to invest in the plan. So your seed is tax-free on a qualified plan, and the IUL or non-qualified plan, your seed is you've already paid taxes on. Now, let's say both people want to, at age 65, they want to take out $52,253 a year. Now, on the qualified plan, the person with the 401k, they're going to have to pull out $69,671 a year, because they're going to have to pay $17,418 in taxes in order to net $52,235. Now, the person with the non-qualified or the Index Universal Life, they're going to just have to pull out the $52,000 because they don't have to pay any taxes. So let's look at it. Okay, the person with the 401k or the IRA, after they've pulled, retired and everything, in 13 years at age 78, they're going to run out of money. But they would have collected $591,000. But still, age 78 is still young, and they still got a life ahead of them. So what do? They go to Walmart and get a greeter's job, or they have to do something to supplement that income. Now, the person that does the non-qualified IUL, they die, say, at age 100. And they would have received that $52,253 for 35 years, totaling $1.8 million, and they still leave their family a $655,000 death benefit that's tax-free. Now, their death benefit alone is more than what the person with the 401k got paid for those 13 years, So as you can see, The person with the tax-free seed in the qualified plan, they paid $144,000 in taxes, but they saved $36,000. Who'd he do? Now look at here on the IUL side, they paid that $36,000 up front, because that money they used was already taxed. They already paid tax, but they saved a total of $444,000 on their harvest. So what would you rather do? Get a tax-free seed and pay $144,000 on your harvest and run out of money at age 78? Or would you pay the $36,000 up front, or use the money that you've paid taxes on, save $444,000 on your harvest, and get paid till age 100, the $52,000 totaling $1.8 million, and still leaving your family with a $655,000 death benefit? So we're going to talk about how you can do that, or really look at the investment losses and market risk and the global economic impact. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. That's Thomas Reed said that quote. And the supply chain is like nature. It's all around us now. We're in a global economic society. We know that from this pandemic we're in. It started, in China. It's affecting us all over the world. Same with the economy. China, we get a lot of things from China, and when they shut down, our supply chain shut down. That's what we're talking about, supply chains here. More than ever before in human history, we share a common destiny. We can master it only if we face it together, because we're all facing this together. Now, indexing, when I talked about the index universal life, this is the philosophy we were using. Okay, you can be in the market with the stock market and make those investments and putting your investments at risk, or you can be indexed to the market where you get the market returns, but there's no risk of loss of your principal or any earned interest. Now, indexing is when you have a ceiling and a floor. Now, the ceiling will cap the amount of money that you can earn. Say the market returns at 18%, and your ceiling is at 15%. 15% is the max that you're going to get. But like I said, the indexing has a floor, and the floor is usually 0, but there are some, products that have 0.25% floor. And what that means that when the market crashes, instead of going down in the gutter or the basement, you're stopping at the floor. In so many words, 0 is your hero. Now let's look at an example of this. Now these are real numbers, real returns based on investments made in 1998 through 2017. And this is based on $1 invested. So the blue line is the in the market, and the red line is indexed to the market. Now, as you can see, in 1998, you had your, dollar that you invested. And by 2000, that's when the dot-com industry started booming. So you can see in the market, you got up there at $1.47, but indexed to the market, you only got $1.30. That's where that ceiling kicked in. But if you look, as the market starts crashing, as it did in 2003 when the dot-com markets crashed, that 147 went down to 94 cents, which was less than the initial investment of $1. Now, but the people that were indexed to the market, they had their floor to protect them. So they ended up making a little bit, even a penny more, a penny more, and it was based on that 0.25% floor. Now, let's say the market started picking up, and in the market, they went up from 94 cents to $1.48. That's when, the real estate market was booming. Now, indexed to the market, because they had their floor, instead of starting in the basement like the people in the market did, they started from their floor, and as you can see, they went up and they had $1.99. So they almost doubled their money. Now, when the mortgage crisis and the real estate market crashed, As you can see, that $1.48 went down to 90 cents, which was less than when the dot-com market crashed and less than what they started with. But the people in the market, they took a big hit. But those indexed to the market, as you can see, they went from $1.99 and they started going up, and they eventually went back up. And as the market picked up and it was doing really well, at the end of 2017, the people in the market ended up with $2.35, and the people indexed to the market had $4.25. Now, let's say the investment was $100,000 instead of $1. In the market, $235,000. Indexed to the market, $425,000. So you can see the difference between being in the market and indexed to the market. So I don't know about you, but I want to be indexed to the market. Okay, now the final obstacle, which is just as important as the first obstacle, is taking action. My mom, Ruby White, used to say, if you study long, you study wrong. And faith without works is dead, according to James 2:20. And the distance between what you want and what you get is what you do, according to Muhammad Atif. I'm sorry, I don't know if I pronounced that right or not. But you have to take action. You can't, just have plans and not do anything. Now, this is the financial blueprint. And step 3, you want to take action to implement them, to make that strategy, see how it's going to work. Step 4 is you want to review it and update it on regular intervals, because things that are working, you want to continue with them, and things that aren't working, you want to adjust them. And then the step 5, your results are you build a financial legacy, financial security, and then you end up with a big fat chunk of money. So that's what you want to do. You want to set your goals, develop a strategy or a plan, take action, review and update that strategy, and modify it if necessary, and build your financial security and financial legacy. Now we're all coming close to an end, and I want to wrap it up by talking about the 4 sites to optimize your financial health. Now, I want you to take this number down. Text TALK, T-A-L-K, to 770-796-4944. That's TALK to 770-796-4944. Okay, hindsight is the first site that you need. And like they say, hindsight is 20/20. You can always look back and say, oh, wow, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, but that's okay. There's nothing you can do about it now, as far as, don't beat yourself up about it, but learn from it. Look at the actions you took, the decisions you made, and learn from them. If they were good results, fine, you keep doing that. If they were not so good, what could you have done better? And you want to learn from it, but like I said, you don't want to beat yourself up about it. But if you need to have a pity party, have a pity party, but just don't stay there too long. Okay, insight. You want to take what you learned in hindsight and develop an insight, something that you can, utilize and modify your strategy with, and use foresight. You want to implement those lessons into your future plans, and you want to have oversight, which are the checks and balances to make sure that things are flowing smoothly. And if they aren't flowing smoothly, there will be checks and balances to catch it before they get go too far. So that's my presentation. I want to thank you. And again, text TALK, T-A-L-K, to 770-796-4944, and you'll get a complimentary 20-minute strategy session to talk about your specific situation. And I want to thank you for being a part of this session, and I look forward to seeing you in the future. Thanks.